morning, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome back to Aussie Starcraft, where we're excited to be bringing you some games from Dreamhack Bucharest. This time, we're going to be seeing a Terran versus Protoss, and in the bottom left-hand corner, as our blue Terran player, it's going to be Ace's Innovation. For those of you not familiar with Innovation, he was absolutely unstoppable, particularly at the start of 2013. We saw an absolute blitz of him in the WCS, looking very good. Unfortunately, in 2014, not so sharp a start for him, but certainly a Terran player to be feared nonetheless. In the top right hand corner is our red Protoss player. It's going to be Welmu. Welmu, very cheeky Protoss player, always likes the aggressive openings, and so this should be a fairly dynamic match here on Overgrowth. So this game's, for those of you who didn't see Dreamhack Bucharest, it is from the round of 16, so not the finals or anything, but still a very exciting game. I know we've got a lot of Welmu fans on the channel. Every time we post a Welmu video, it gets a stack more views than others of perhaps even more well-known players. So thought we'd cast this for you guys, and hopefully you enjoy it. And hopefully Innovation Welmu put on a bit of a show for us today. Welmu looks like he's going for a fairly standard sort of gateway opener, no crazy proxies out of him. Innovation, likewise, throwing up his barracks and factory. Imagine we'll be seeing a Reaper out of Innovation sometime soon. Now, Overgrowth's a bit of an interesting map. I know we've talked about it in a few of the casts. Things like this natural expansion down here, quite easy to secure. The wall, probably moderate size compared to some maps, bigger than some but smaller than Deadless Point, some other crazy large ramps and things that have been had in the past. Most interesting thing we've seen this season really is a change in a lot of the map design that prevents blink stalkers from being nearly as effective. You can tell by things like all this shrubbery and water that's here. It's been put in place to stop blink stalkers being the same sort of threat they were. Terran players did suffer horrifically in the last season. The maps made it quite easy for Protoss players to just rely on one or two different blink stalker variants and make it quite difficult for the Terran player to actually make it to the mid game, where they do tend to excel against Protoss. So we'll see how these new maps fare for them in the newer seasons of WCS. We've had some great games. I know last night I was watching the GSL, a number of great games there. Here's to hoping that they release a few of those replay packs like they did last year. So Welmu's going to grab his Cybercore, throw down his Nexus on the low ground, and looks like both our players will be expanding fairly quickly, so likely to be slightly more economic opening to this game. Innovation actually going to be throwing down a reactor behind this first Reaper. Not a bad choice. The Reaper's going to be able to get up and start scanning. The only problem for this is if the Protoss player does go Proxy Oracle in this scenario, you do find yourself in tremendous stress quite shortly. As you can see, first two Marines are going to be 25 seconds away. Proxy Oracle can hit very close to the time that these two Marines will be out, and if you're not careful that can cause some real havoc in your mineral line. But Engineering Bay is going up, so things like missile turrets certainly going to be optional. Actually, it's going to be a very quick +1, so have a little bit of this going on with Terran players lately, grabbing that +1 really quickly, ensure that the Protoss players under pressure from the get-go. Have a Stalker on the way, 3 probes in each gas geyser for Welmu, which is about what you'd expect at this point in game. Looks like a few more, a Gateway and a Robo actually going down here. So Welmu going to be able to build some Immortals and Colossi, and we'll see just what Innovation has in store for us there. Actually scouting out with this Reaper, doing a lot of work, making sure there's no hidden expansions. I like this choice from Innovation. A map as large as Overgrowth, you can tend to get away with quite sneaky things on the fringe of the map, but Innovation really looking for those proxy pylons, other things to ensure that he doesn't just get easily harassed. Oh, Reaper actually going to get in here, actually managing to take out a probe there. Very nice work there from Innovation. In the way of proxy pylons, you'll often see a Protoss player when they're in the top right location drop a pylon right here. The reason for it is the quick travel distance into the third or the natural, and it's right out of the way. Things like drops won't always catch it as they go by. But as we can see, Innovation doing a lot of work with this Reaper, taking the watchtower. He's got a fairly good idea of what's going on this map so far. If we check out his vision, we can see that he's seen the Robo, very aware what options Welmu has at this point. But Welmu a person you never want to count as all figured out here. He does have some quite amusing builds. Twilight Council has gone down now. Wondering whether this will be for Blink Stalkers or whether it'll be for Zealot Charge. I'd imagine we will be seeing some Blink Stalkers, particularly to stave off Innovation's potential medevac drops. Innovation was a big fan back in the day of things like Hellbat drops, so always want to watch his medevac micro. It is quite good, and a few Blink Stalkers will certainly help tidy that up. Looks like Stimpack is on the way, along with Terran Armor level 1. Not a lot in the way of upgrades, not anything I believe in the way of upgrades for Protoss play. In fact, they don't even have the Forge out just yet, so Welmu is actually going to be substantially behind on upgrades. He'll be down 1-1 upgrades, so a little bit of pain there, particularly in these early engagements. Would love to have at least the Protoss armor upgrade by the time these conflicts occur, but it looks like Welmu may just go for a few Colossus in order to avoid fighting for the time being. A lot of Marines out for Innovation. Third Command Centre is being thrown now, along with the factory. A few gateways coming out for Welmu, and the unit count is actually fairly similar for both these players. 61 supply to 65 is fairly comparable, about what you'd expect. We have a probe hiding down here in the bottom right, so you're going to be able to establish those pawns. A few observers out in the middle of the map. Love the positioning from Welmu. He's going to have a great idea when this moves out. I'd love to see another observer or two to spot medevac drops. This Marine going to be sitting on the third base, so it is aware when that goes down. Of course, he knows he has his own third base coming up now, so Innovation will be feeling fairly comfortable at this point. It's got a nice upgrade advantage. About to grab the armory, and I think we'll see a second engineering bay thrown down just in time to get 2-2 started. And Innovation will be absolutely cruising along for upgrades, whereas Welmu still unupgraded here, but with his second Colossus being Chrono Boost out now and Thermal Lance just finished up, is while slow on upgrades, actually in position to do a little bit of damage here with this Colossus and the sheer number of gateways that he has behind us. Another 3 gates in the bottom, and a few Stalkers as well. So this drop that's moving out from Innovation, not going to be able to do a whole lot. The Marine, however, did scout the pylon, so this drop will come and clean that up. But we see Welmu well positioned to be able to deal with any drop into his main base. Zealot going to take care of this Marine on the third base, and the second one's going to clean up the watchtower. So there's going to be a good deal of vision for Welmu in the middle. This Zealot, unfortunately, is going to find himself face to face with a few Marines and Marauders. Manages to get one more kill, but does eventually bite the bullet. This observer moving into position, making sure no more medevacs can sneak in from that angle. We have a third Colossus on the way now, so quite a bit here for Welmu. Is steadily channeling along on 2 bases. No current intention to drop a third by the looks of it, so a little bit of a struggle for Welmu. These forces going to ensure that third does not go down, but there's plenty of Stalkers and Colossi, so these Marines, if not careful, are going to get picked off, and Blink Forward will allow Welmu to get a Stalker and a Marauder. Unfortunately, his army's going to be out of position. This Colossus wants to be really careful, could find itself in fairly dire straits quite quickly, though Innovation's forces being chased back now. Colossus and Stalker's going to take the watchtower once more. These medevacs and Marauders ready to nip into the main. Unfortunately, there's plenty of Blink Stalkers sitting there from Welmu, ensuring that they cannot do that. And actually going to pick up a medevac, almost getting a second one there, so not bad at all for Welmu. Welmu is, however, going to take up position between the second and third base. Really does need to put some pressure on this third, as his own third hasn't been established. This Colossus potentially sniped. Innovation is a great chance there. Those units could easily have picked off that Colossus if he'd been watching. Unfortunately, Innovation very focused here on the front door. Has already pulled most of his SCVs to be able to keep these bunkers alive. The Colossus doing a bit of damage there, forcing the third base to lift off. So it's going to be 2 base apiece. Actually going to mass recall in order to force this force back. And a nice blink from these Blink Stalkers will actually snipe both medevacs, and that is a fairly good pickup for Welmu. Didn't lose a whole lot of workers in that engagement, just 6 workers. Templar Archives now being thrown down, and these Marines and Marauders actually getting chased all the way home there. Unfortunately, their lift got a flat tyre, was shot down, and now they got to wander all the way home. Viking going to be picked off as well, still 4 on the field, but certainly not the kind of numbers you'd want with 4 Colossus barreling your way. Innovation going to be pulling that third base back in. Would love to start mining, but Can't really afford to with the Protoss force right here at his door. He does have 6 Vikings, but 6 Vikings to 4 Colossi, not the best odds. Welmu here actually going to fall back while he waits for Storm. He does have his Templar archives on the way. Unfortunately for Welmu, it probably would have been a great opportunity for him to poke at that base just a little bit longer. There is a lot of Marines and Marauders here, but as you can see, they can't really blitz their way out. They were stuck behind these bunkers, and Welmu could have taken a position to make life very unpleasant for them. Particularly with a few force fields and or Storm. Like, force fields would have held him in, and Storm could have been used for the coming engagement to storm on top of things like the SCVs. So I can't help but feel as a little bit of a missed opportunity for Welmu, particularly when it is such a congested entryway. He did have Innovation bottled up quite nicely, whereas Innovation's now able to mass produce Vikings 3 at a time and start pushing his way out. And it's very Marauder heavy composition. As you can see, we have almost 24 Marauders here. It is an absolutely murderous amount of Marauders, and that many Marauders is going to be very hard to storm. Storms will do some damage, but just going to be very hard to do enough critical damage to the force to actually keep it down. Welmu continuing to patrol with these Blinkstalkers, wants to be sure that no medevacs do survive. We have a hero Marine here, going to streak his way into the mineral line, going for gold with a probe. Unfortunately, does get the probe, but meets a very fiery end there underneath the Stalker. So, nice little animation there. Looks like Innovation's deciding to move out now as Marines and Marauder force just barreling forwards, feeling confident enough that he actually salvaged all his bunkers at his natural expansion. So Innovation feeling very confident in the amount of Marauders, and why wouldn't he? He's got most of the things going for this composition that he'd like. The only thing Innovation hasn't got going for him is he has spent some time producing Vikings. He has very little in the way of medevacs. Could actually stim his own army to death if he's not careful. These Marauders here are going to be picked off by Blink, and Welmu very aggressively blinking. We've seen him blink onto the Terran player time and time again, and we can see even that last force turnaround there is going to kill a few of those zealots, but Welmu just plucking off a lot of Marauders here in these engagements, just by being aggressive with that blink micro and forcing the Terran player back. Those Colossi were actually some distance behind this force, so probably could have actually afforded to turn around just a little bit sooner. Well, we got a lot of Zealots here to tank, but we see Innovation fanning out quite nicely at the top of the ramp. Going to be a great size concave. This third base is the key here. The second base is getting closer to being mined out. This third all important in these coming conflicts. Looks like Welmu will get in a great position here. Factory is going to go down very quickly, and Welmu will be in position to storm this third base. Now, this is a great choke for Protoss to fight over. Welmu can get in a concave like this, but they can't actually save the base or this bunker. So, a few Marines and Marauders trying to force some action here. Forced to sit under the storm. We see the assimilator down. And these Colossi are actually doing a lot of damage. Zealots tanking. As we can see, what Innovation really unable to take a fight on this angle. We see storm after storm going down on clumps of units here. We see the supply dropping for our Terran player Innovation, though we see that Innovation is making a bit of a stand here. These Vikings starting to one-shot the Colossus. The ground force going to be able to chew through these Stalkers. Archons are morphing now, unfortunately, a little bit too late here. Medevacs being focus fired down by these Archons. These Archons doing so much work. 2 kills each, but a stack of splash damage shooting down another Medevac there. And there's a lovely cloud. If only there was energy for another storm. It looks like he's all over Innovation. Can Innovation hold here? He's going to land the Vikings. Archons still firing on top of these Vikings. Both players rapidly dropping supply. Welmu almost down to 100 supply. Innovation somehow managing to hold this last Archon now up to 11 kills. Will go down. This Colossus a little bit too bold, wandering into the fray. Will get sniped. Big loss there for Welmu. Probably needed to rally that one back just a bit quicker. A few Zealots down here. They're going to need to pull back. And Viking count down to 6. So Innovation managing to hold where it looked almost certain he'd fall. Protoss players still has a bit of bank. Innovation himself relying on the power of mules here. We see he's lost a phenomenal amount of workers. 50 workers killed by our player Welmu, whereas Innovation's only managed to do just a little bit of economic harassment this game. So These medevacs, however, are going to be worth their weight in gold, going to make this army so cost efficient. We do have a lot of Templar here, energy for feedbacks but no Storm. Unfortunately there's not a whole lot of energy on these medevacs, so Storm not going to be doing a whole lot. The Colossus is going to go down exceptionally quickly, already down to about a quarter health. And one happy Viking is going to snipe that down. So plenty of Storm though on these Templar. They need to morph into Archons very shortly, as this Marine Marauder force looks just set to take the third base. More Storms on top of these forces. Unfortunately, Innovation splitting very well. These High Templars forced to morph now. Unfortunately, one High Templar will get picked off. Even Probes being pulled off here. And Immortal is the sole damage dealer behind this army of Proto. Immortal Archon plus Probes versus Marines and Marauders. Unfortunately, Archon is going to go down. Second Archon will make its way and got to be so careful. Doesn't want to get this sniped. Welmu, you need to keep this Archon alive, buddy. It's just bold as continuing to plow forward. The Archon will go down. Immortal looks like he will likewise fall here, and these 7 Marine Marauders just going to streak back towards this base. Got to be super careful with this Archon. Third base has just started mining again for Innovation as he makes a relentless push in this. This Immortal is all he's got. Unfortunately for Welmu, hasn't remade the Mothership Core. Could desperately use a Photon Overcharge in this circumstance, but unfortunately for him, the Archon going to focus down the medevacs and may actually get quite a few of these. Would love to have a few extra Stalkers just to focus these down. That needs all the supply and Zealots he can get just to buy time for these Archons. Archon going to fall back, another Immortal coming, trying to chew through these Marauders, but with this many medevacs healing, we have as many Marauders as we have medevacs, and it's quite difficult for Welmu to try and hold here. He has some more Archons heading in, but needs a little bit more fat in the fire, a few Zealots to try and tank the damage here. The Archons do great splash damage, perhaps even wanting to focus down those medevacs would help him deal with the ground force just that little bit better, as these medevacs just... these Marauders, sorry, just constantly stimming here. Nice force field though, is going to pin these Marauders in place. Quick pickup from Innovation will allow him to fall back, but great force fields from Welmu, able to put an end to that relentless little run on the third base. So a lot of pressure for Welmu. Welmu doing very well to keep that third base mining operational. Innovation's still got a few units here to potentially harass this third base. Completely exposed, nothing left to defend it. Even one or two Zealots from this pylon on the right would make life much easier for Welmu. Sending a Zealot or two down if he could spare them. Looks like the Nexus actually going to get sniped by those Marauders. Massive pickup for Innovation. Welmu's income will virtually cease now, so a bit unfortunate for Welmu to lose that. We have 2 High Templar here saying action denied to that drop that was trying to swing in. This Immortal, big loss here, picked off by these Marines and Marauders. This time Innovation, completely awake, is going to see that unit walking by and does pick it off very nicely. Welmu almost mined out at both his bases, as we can see, just 3 mineral patches here. Main base completely mined out. These 2 medevacs now a massive threat. We have no High Templars or anything in the main to prevent them doing damage. You're actually going to pluck off this pylon, and Innovation's starting to resurrect his economy here. So a little bit of problem for Welmu. Long distance mining on one base as opposed to the 3 bases of Welmu. These 2 medevacs almost completely empty. Could feed back those if he thought to do so. Going to Storm instead. Manages to get both of them in the Storm. Innovation's pilots unfortunately wandering back through that Storm. We have a big force of Marines and Marauders. Going to force the cancel on this third base for Welmu, which is unfortunate. So close to being up, and he desperately needs that income with only 400 minerals in the bank. These poor probes, they're tired of walking all the way back to the natural. They don't want to do that much work. Instead, it looks like Welmu's going to do an oft-cited Terran strategy, pull his probes and go to town. Though probably not quite the way he wanted to execute that, with the probes and High Templar walking straight in front of his army there. Archon here at the top of the ramp, going to force these Marines back. Few Zealots working their way around. Archon's now moving into the fray, but there's so much dim by. We have a few Immortals behind us. This is a very close battle here. Who will come out on top? We've seen several of the medevacs just get focused down by the Archons this time. I love that focus fire from Welmu with the Archons. But the remainder of this force just continually kiting with the stim. All the probes here for Welmu. He's got no additional income. Microing his Archons back to keep him alive. Manages to snipe the last medevac, and the Immortals are moving forward as well. Finally, we've got a Nexus being established in a different location this time. I like that choice from Welmu. Make it just a little bit easier to defend both his production in the main base And the third base location here. Welmu knows he's got to make something out of this. Third base isn't mining from innovation because it has dropped an incredible amount here. It's all in for Welmu at this point. Unfortunately, SCVs have been pulled. There's just too much damage here. There's not enough for Welmu. Would dearly love a storm or two, but it looks like innovation's last few units may be able to do it for him. And GG, Welmu taps out. What a game between these two players. Very back and forward. A little bit of a slow start, but these two showing us why they're some of the best of the business. Hope you guys enjoyed that cast. This is Aussie Starcraft. We've got plenty more Heart of the Swarm action coming up just after this, so stay tuned, guys. It's Aussie Starcraft. I'll see you in the next cast.